Hello everyone! I'm back again for another episode of Transformation. If you are new here to this channel, I make DIYs, fashion clothes, and showing tutorials, so don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified when I have a new video. So for today's episode, I'm gonna show you how to transform a men's t-shirt into a crop tops inspired by Boohoo, Shane, and Princess Polly. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm gonna use this red t-shirt. It's a stretchable cotton fabric. For the first DIY is a fitted lettuce hem crop top. First thing I did is to mark how long you want your crop top to be. And don't forget to add at least 1 cm for the seam allowance. Then cut the drawing line. Next, I took a shirt I had at home that fits me well because I would like to downsize it to make it more fit to me. I'm just going to trace this shirt onto the shirt that I'm downsizing and mark it using tailoring chalk, and don't forget to add 1 cm for the seam allowance. After cutting it, folded the shirt in half to make the other side. Then cut it off the excess bit of fabric. Moving on to the sleeves, I'm just doing the same thing I did with the shoulder seam. I'm just tracing the shoulder seam on the shirt onto the shirt I'm downsizing and mark it down. And don't forget to add seam allowance, of course. Then just cut off the excess fabric. Next, I took that sleeves and traced it onto the other sleeves. That way, I would have 2 matching sleeves. Now we have 2 sleeves. We're going to attach them to the shirt. Just search the midpoint and align that to the shoulder seam. And now you have the center. Pin and sew it with a double overlock stitch. Next is time to close up the shirt. Pin and sew it again with double overlock stitch. Now it was time to hem by folding it about 1 cm and iron it or pin it like what I actually do to keep it in place. Then I'm going to place it under my sewing machine foot You will need to do a little bit of adjusting to get the stitch in the right place. But basically, you want the right zigzags to just fall off the edge of the material. Last thing to do is to cut the extra bit of fabric off. And we're finished! And here's the first DIY we made. And for the second DIY is ruche crop top. I'm gonna use this blue t-shirt. First thing I did is to mark how long you want your crop top to be, and I add 6 cm for the seam allowance. Mark it and cut the extra bit of fabric. Now I'm going to do the same thing at the first crop top we made. To downsize the shirt, just trace this shirt onto the shirt that I'm downsizing. Mark it using tailoring chalk, and of course don't forget at least 1 cm for the seam allowance. Then fold the shirt in half to make the other side. Now we're going to do the sleeves. Just do the same thing we did for the first crop top we made. Now we have all. We're going to attach them together. Just search the midpoint and align that to the shoulder seam. Pin and sew them using double overlock stitch. Next is time to close up the shirt. Pin and sew it again with double overlock stitch. Now I'm going to change the neckline. Flip the shirt so that it's folded in half. And search where do you want your neckline to be stopped. And now simply draw a V-line from the two sides of the neck to the middle where you mark it earlier. Cut the drawing line. Next, we're going to hem all the raw edges by folding them twice. Pin and sew them using stretch stitch or zigzag stitch. I did the same thing for the sleeves and the bottom of our shirt. Moving on to placing the passage of the drawstring, I just measure 26 cm plus 4 cm for the seam allowance. Now we're going to make a long rectangle. 30 cm is the length of the passage of my shirt. And 8 cm for the width. Now we're going to search the middle of the rectangle and mark to know where to sew when we attach it in our shirt. Next, hide the raw edges of the sides of our rectangle by folding it twice. Sew it using stretch stitch or zigzag stitch. Next, fold it about 1 cm the long two sides of the rectangle. Iron them or pin them like what I did to hold them in place. It should look like this. Then attach it to the middle of the shirt and sew it using stretch stitch. Moving from the straps, I remove the original hem of the t-shirt. Cut it at one side to make one long strap. Then turn it out using safety pin. Now we have a beautiful straps. It's time to put them into the shirt using safety pin. And we're finished. And here's the second and last DIY.